Are you kidding me?
I know. I was like, I don't want to say this on the podcast. I don't want to, swear for the audience there, but I'm like, everybody wants to get to that level 10, but honestly, you have to go level 1, level 2, level 3. If they're buying a house that they're going to be living in for a couple of decades, it's a big ticket item. They're not buying a car, it's a house. I see mortgage transactions get declined by other mortgage brokers, and they come to me and I get it approved. And I just think if I was their mentor, if they worked in my team, they wouldn't have had to decline that deal. It's not just getting income document, pulling a credit and submitting a deal and then wishing, hope it gets approved. No, it's not that. If you're buying a house, you need to figure out what your budget is. That is your income coming in and all the expenses currently going out, including that Disney subscription or Netflix subscription. Put that on the piece of paper. Know your client. Like KYC is very important in this industry, right? Because I think fraud in mortgage industry is very, very high. If something goes wrong, can you go to their house? All those things are very important, not just the rate. Like you could be talking to somebody online and, are they even a real person? If not, then rate does not matter because they're not giving you advice.
One thing people often misunderstood about the mortgage industry.
I guess the mortgage brokers charge a fee. There's
There's
no fee, period.
I still can't accept that. It's like, welcome back to another episode of Decode Success, 100 Business Owners, 100 Lessons. Today we have amazing guest from the mortgage industry, Rahul Bedi. Let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Rahul. Lakshay already said I'm a mortgage broker, so nothing more to say. But no, my journey starts from a regular international student who came to Canada in 2013 and moved my way up to become employed and entrepreneur. I run a big team of mortgage brokers here in Halifax and also New Brunswick, and we help a lot of homeowners.
That's an amazing introduction. So let's start with the basic. What inspired you to start Active Mortgage? Like what made you bring into this industry?
So it goes back to 2014, actually. So that was my second year being in Canada, and I was paying rent. It was like $600 or something like that. And I was like, well, if I can own a property, I can rent it out to other people, and I can live rent free. And I was on a study permit, so I couldn't buy a house at that point. And fast forward, when I started a good co-op job, I was making good money. I thought it was good money at that time. And I went to a mortgage broker. I went to a bank and they turned me down. I went to a mortgage broker and they said, no, you can't. And I had good income. Like it was $16 an hour at that time. Sounded a lot. Now the basic is 16, but it used to be 10. Basic pay used to be $10.25. I remember. So 15 was really good. 16 was really good at that time. But they turned me down. And then fast forward, they told me that I have to be a permanent resident in order to buy a house. So as soon as I got my permanent residency, I was already working at a bank. I got my mortgage, got a house, and rented the basement. Basement was paying the whole mortgage. So I was living rent free. So it took me 5 years to get to what I wanted to do in 2014. But at that time, the mortgage broker at the time that I used, he said, well, you don't have to be PR. You can actually buy a house on a work permit. I was
Are you kidding me?
like, I know. I was like, I don't want to say this on the podcast. I don't want to, swear for the audience there. But I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I waited so long to buy a house, and now you're telling me I could have bought it at a work permit? He's like, yeah. So... and then I was still working at the bank at that time. And I'm like, okay, so mortgage brokers have a lot more knowledge about how to do mortgages, not just the rates. A lot of people think that these mortgage brokers exist because they get a better rate. Rate is one thing. Yes, because we can source out a lot of banks, right? So we can get a better rate, but honestly, it's the knowledge that we provide to clients and then finding, okay, your situation, what bank would what bank your situation will best suit at, and then who can we go to. And 2020 COVID hit, and I want to be a mortgage broker at the time because 2019 I bought my house. I want to be a mortgage broker pretty much the next day, but I'm like, okay, I have a big mortgage, I got to pay for that. So being self-employed, it's it seems like a big mountain that you have to climb, and when you climb, you don't know, and how you're gonna make ends meet, pay your bills, pay for your car insurance, put food on the table. Uh, so those things kind of kept me away. And COVID hit. I was like, oh, I can't be a self-employed at this time. I loved my cushy job at the bank, and it was giving me good money at the time, and loved it. Loved working with the people. It was just amazing. And then the thought came in mind in 2021 when I bought my second house. I'm like, you know what? Like, I had a lot of problems at them too, getting a mortgage from the bank. I'm like, I gotta go and be a mortgage broker because my mortgage was done with the broker at that time. Went to a bank, had some issues, went to mortgage broker, smooth transaction. I'm like, I got to be a mortgage broker. I got to make this happen. And started with a great company, great mentors. And that was it. That was the beginning of being self-employed and, entrepreneur. Then a year later, I started on my own. And then that's when active mortgage came in existence. And we are now 5 people on our team.
That's nice.
Do one broker in Ontario, one in New Brunswick, 3 here. We just added another team member, great guy who used to be my client actually, and he was like very excited that the way that I helped him with his mortgage, that kind of resonated with him, and he's like, I want to be a mortgage broker. So he just started on our team, and we're growing every single day. Hopefully by next year we'll double our team.
That's pretty solid. No,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the industries. Even I had someone in the podcast where I talking about insurances, and that's where I came up with is like you are selling people like 20, 30 years of their life where they're going to be paying about their houses and all those stuff. And if you're not giving them knowledge about what they are paying for and what's going on the market, like you are not there just to sell, right? People need to trust you enough to put the whole trust, because for some people house like might not be just an investment property.
Mm-hmm.
That is their like lifetime saving that they want to invest in something, and you can't mess up with that. So like I know like some people, like this is an industry where you want to make money, but then again that people, you have to see that as well. It's like 20, 30 of their life they are like putting in, and you can't mess up with that. And that's where like the first thing you have to give to someone is knowledge,
Yeah.
educate them about how it's going to work out, what you have to tell. And that's what you find out is like, oh, I could have bought it at while I was a work permit, and you could have saved like thousands of dollars which you have paid in rent, which could have ended up paying in your own house money. And like that's a big hit if someone gets that.
Absolutely. Let alone the appreciation on the property, right? Like the condo at the time in 2014 that I was looking to buy
Yeah,
is worth 4 times the price that I would have paid for it. Like, so
exactly.
I could have been a millionaire already by now if I bought that condo. But again, I believe in fate a lot, and nothing's come to you until it's the right time. I'm a big believer in that. So everything, you just gotta believe in God, have faith, trust the process, do good things, and you will eventually, get there. It may take you some time. A lot of people, again, like me thinking back, I was like, oh, why I wasn't, I had to be patient, but like I didn't want to be patient enough because everybody wants to get to that, level 10. But honestly, you have to go level 1, level 2, level 3 in
That's
order to
true.
get to level 10. But a lot of people compare mortgage brokers with the banks. So you have to really stand out from that perspective too. Uh, like banks 9 to 5, hard to get a hold of a banker on the weekend. I've been there. Like nobody called me on a weekend. Well, they wanted to, but the
You don't care
calls
because
the calls go through the main line, and
yeah,
there's nobody there to answer the phone call, right?
true.
But as a broker, there's a high level of expectation that you know you are available. You have to be available all the time because you never know what emergency will come up. Like a few weeks ago, we have a client who was working with a bank, got declined, and they had 1 week to close the house. And that's unheard of because a lot of people will say, well, we need at least 3 weeks to close on a mortgage, right? On a house, because it takes some time. Banks need to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
We got it done in 5 days.
Like, see, that is amazing. So like,
right?
because with banking, like, again, like, because with mortgage, like, you're running a business,
Yeah,
you are aggressive about getting people things. With while bank, like,
yeah.
they're already there, they don't care about giving you 10 different advices which one is the best to go with, and you're just there. If you want it, they give you. If you don't, it's up to you.
Big time. I mean, banks want to help people as well. Like we work with banks a lot. They are the sole reason why we exist. They are big supporters, and I find people working in the banks, they want to help people as well. But at the same time, s- the mortgage is what I do.
Mortgage is
That's
what
all.
you.
Like
So
I'm only doing mortgages, right? Residential and commercial. That's it. Anything to do with something to do with the real estate, I I'm part of that. But when I was at the bank, I would do mortgage and I will do mutual funds. I will do bank accounts. I'll do credit cards. It can be, you're 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 expected to be learning a lot about different avenues of the business, uh, and which is good because banks are probably the best way to start. If somebody wants to be a mortgage broker, go work for a bank first.
work for a bank.
Nothing wrong. You can come and start as a fresh mortgage broker. The new team member that we added, they don't know much about mortgages other than they've gotten a mortgage before,
Yeah,
but it can be a little bit of a learning curve when you start. I think it's great because if you don't fear that, then you won't be able to succeed as fast. But if you go to work at a bank and then become a mortgage broker, you already have the basis built up. Banks really train you well. Like I gotta say, like they have figured out the best training modules. You're getting paid to learn, right? So if somebody's paying you to learn, great, do that.
that is a good thing to
Yeah.
hear about. Is like, yeah, if they're paying you to learn, basically you can take it as if you want to start up your own business or something.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically internships that you're getting to
Yeah.
learn things. But still, I feel like it's still hard for people to like leave that. You said it's a cushion job, that to leave that and start your own, because then again, as you said, COVID hit, and you never know that crisis like that can come. But while you are in a job, you know that you are safe and secured because the paychecks are going to come if something happens, right? But when you start your business, you need your investments, you need your liquid funds to run for a year.
Yeah.
And I know every industry has their own challenges. What unique challenges you think like the mortgage industry has while you have to start?
Well, the biggest one would be the knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, and if don't people don't feel confident in your advice, it's hard to be successful. Because at the end of the day, they're trusting you with 30 years of their mortgage life, and they're trusting you with a big purchase. Like most people buy one house and live in there forever, right? Uh, so if they're buying a house that they're going to be living in for a couple of decades, let's say 1 decade, even 5 years, that's a big ticket item.
True.
They're not just buying a small air fryer that they can return later. They're not buying a car that they can a couple of years later they can exchange and get a better one or whatever. It's a house.
True.
It takes 2 months, normal timing, it will take 1 or 2 months to sell a house. It costs a lot of money to sell a house because, realtor fees, penalties on a mortgage, all that stuff. So the biggest challenge is they are trusting in you. So knowledge is the biggest thing that can help somebody succeed in mortgage business.
Do you feel like working in banking gives you the pretty much knowledge that you needed to for the mortgage, or did you do all your own studies or any particular like certifications that you had to do to be actually a mortgage broker?
Yeah, so mortgage industry, you have to get a license. You have to do some if exams, and once you pass an exam, then you can get sponsored through a company, and they can get your license. And then once you have the license, you can give advice. Banks do provide a good job if you work at a bank. They do provide training, but honestly, it's one of those things that only comes in with experience. Not one transaction is similar to the other. Like maybe two friends buying a house at the same time, their transactions could look exactly different. Their interest rates could look exactly different too. So not one size fits all in this industry, unfortunately. So I would say that would be the biggest differentiator when you're looking at that. But when you go to a bank and then somebody is there who's done it and they're there to support you, right? I find a lot of mortgage brokers struggle because they don't have the right guidance or mentorship available to them to give them that, a bit
No.
of a push or a bit of an advice that how this deal should be done. I see mortgage transactions get declined by other mortgage brokers, and they come to me and I get it approved, and I just think, if I was their mentor, if they worked in my team, they wouldn't have had to decline that deal. I have sometimes some mortgage brokers on my team. They get a file decline. They come to me and they go, "Rahul, like, what do you think? How can we make this happen?" 'Cause my philosophy in mortgage industry, there should be a way to get somebody approved if they have the right income, the right down payment, good credit score. You should be able to. Even with bad credit score, there are options available, right? We can help people out. A customer came to me who was declined by a client by a bank. Uh, they said, "Oh, our credit score is 600," and there were two people buying a house. One had over 700, the other one was like a little shy of 600, and we got it approved. And they're like, "Why did the bank?" And they got really good interest rate, 5% down payment. So
Five
it's
percent down payment.
yeah, yeah. So low credit score, and we got them approved. It's just knowing where to put the deal properly is very important. And some brokers struggle because they don't have the right mentorship. There's not that team lead is, maybe the team lead is missing, or maybe the team leader is so busy they're not able to spend that time with them to educate them. We have very low decline ratio. A lot of realtors, when they partner with our team, their biggest feedback to us is, we're able to close more deals because of you, because you know how to present the file to the banks, the way they like it. It's an art, it's
True.
not just getting income document, pulling a credit and submitting a deal and then wishing, just twirling a hand and like just crossing the hands and just say, okay, hope it gets approved. No, it's not that. It's pretty much an art, and you have to present it to, we call bank underwriters. So you're not sending it to a bank, you're sending to an actual human being. It's not still not mortgages are not done by AI still. So we still have human touch on that.
Yeah.
And when you present it to an underwriter, they look at it, but they're also wondering what story you have to tell them about the client. Maybe somebody had a bad credit score, but what was the reason why they had the bad credit score?
I think basically you need to like tell a bank a story that why they should approve that person and
Yeah,
why they are the right fit, and
yeah,
that's where the storyteller comes in with the knowledge that you put the right pieces of proofs that okay, like yeah, this people is right person to
yeah,
get this approved at this interest rate or whatever. I think yeah, that's where exactly like the expertise needed to be, rather
yeah.
than just going to a random person with the knowledge they know, and they might ask you the right questions instead of just going in a rush to get you approved.
Yeah. I had a transaction in this year. We're recording in 2024, so referencing 2024 year. We had a transaction that was turned down by one of the big five banks. They came to me. Client was working with somebody at a branch in one of those big five bank, and they came to me and through a realtor that I work with. He said, "Sorry, the client already had a relationship with their bank, so I couldn't send them to you before, but can you get them approved?" I'm like, "Great." Turned out the bank had offered them an option with a B lender. They had the option to give them that option, and they had to pay 2% fee and an 8% interest rate for 1 year. And they came to me, and I was like, "You've got perfect credit score. You've got great income. I don't know why the bank would turn you down." Turned out that the income that they had was a unique way of presenting to the bank. So bank didn't understand how that income worked. When they came to me, I analyzed everything. They had a condition of, so when you put an offer on a house, you have condition
Can-
of financing. So usually 5 days, 10 days, whatever. They had 2 days of condition financing. I was like, let's get this done. We have time to get it done. I submitted the application, one of the big five banks, and they approved it. And underwriter actually worked 8 o'clock at night. I remember I was going to Halifax Tower Hotel for an event, and they called me, and she's like, "Rahul, I think this deal's doable. We can do it. I have some questions. Do you have a minute?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I always have time for my clients. So, let's talk." She said, I need to clarify this. I'm like, this is how that works. This is how that works. Because I knew how the client's story was, right? I knew all the facts. Client has already told me how her income worked and approved. The client was shocked because now she's getting 4.74 interest rate compared to 8% that the bank offered. And then
That is a
2%
big
fee.
game changer.
That does not exist on my approval,
Yeah,
right? So my approval is 4.74%. And I think it was like a little over 4.74 by the time they closed on the deal. But that just goes back in terms of how to present a mortgage application.
and that's where I feel like someone told me while I was saying you chat in my other podcast is like while you're spending such big amount on your houses where
Mhm.
you're just gonna put your half of your life in that, like shop around, like
Yeah.
just don't stick with a person and just think that there can't be better done.
Mhm.
Just shop around, ask the right questions to your persons, and ask them why it cannot be done. And I
Mhm.
feel like, and if a person can give those answers, then it might be the right fit.
Absolutely.
Because like 8% to 4%, like they would have been paying a crazy amount because the houses are like not cheap, and 1% or a half a percent changes a lot in a long term game. So like
Yep.
the 4% is a big hit for
Well,
that person, I
anytime
guess.
Bank of Canada comes out and says, we're decreasing 25 points, it's a big deal. Like now we're talking about almost 4% difference. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what was like the most difficult part you find about like you running your mortgage company once you were start with it?
Once you get going as a busy entrepreneur, just like any company, not just related to mortgage. I've had companies in the past that I've started and worked on. Mortgages is really what I've found my love in, and will do it like 24 hours in a day if I could stay awake for that long. I find the when you get too busy, sometimes you can think of you want to do everything by yourself as an entrepreneur, and that's not a good way of thinking how to run a business. So if you can delegate some of that, it's hard to delegate a lot of things in mortgage industry because client trusts you, bank trusts you, you are the licensed person, a realtor wants to talk to you. I get probably 100 calls a day. I touch at least 60 to 70 different people in my day-to-day life, whether it's bank, real estate agent, or a client that I'm actually actively working on, or my potential clients. So you can get too busy, and if you don't delegate some of those non-important, not related to you tasks, like maybe take example, the you need to order notepads, right? And you're going on Amazon and doing it by yourself. Versus you can ask that, hey
Hand up.
assistant, can you do it? Or a phone call that you just need to get a client booked. Instead of me spending 2 minutes or 3 minutes with a client saying, hey, what day would you like? Maybe automating that or getting assistant to do it. A lot of people just like to hold on to things.
I definitely agree with that because while I'm doing my marketing business, same thing like all the businesses I work with, because even if they're like my marketing, like same thing, that is a long term thing. While I'm pitching the marketing, it's not that a 1 day thing, like that has to be like 3 4 5 6 months and couple months where you actually see changes while we study things for you. And in the start, when I started, I was just doing everything my own because I was just doing my own events, and I could not afford to hire everyone to do everything. But while I started agency, I was like, if I'm going to start doing everything on my own, then there is a body limitation, there is an hour limitation,
Mhm.
that you can't go more than that. And if you want to grow up as a business, you need to start diluting things and find out the right piece
Mhm.
that can replace you on those things. Because what I feel like in business, it's better that if you earn 10 bucks, give it out 8 if that takes 100% of your work, and if you're making 2 instead of you making the whole 10,
Mhm.
and then you can never grow. Because with
Absolutely.
that you can 10 it like 10x that thing,
Mhm.
20x, 200x,
Mhm.
you can grow a business. But if you want to physically be at everything,
Yeah,
you cannot do it. Like the automation is the most important thing that you
absolutely.
need to do your business
Yeah.
to aggressively and exponentially make it grow. Because if you want to do everything on your one time, like 24 hours in a day, you can't go more than that.
Absolutely.
and
Everybody has 24 hours in a day.
and I get calls from clients like 10, 11 in the morning, like in the nights, because sometimes a marketing idea comes up. They're like, oh, next week Black Friday is coming, this is coming, anything is coming, and they want to know a marketing idea about that. Like
Mm-hmm.
they come up randomly to me. I have to do the research. But if I'm going shooting things myself while I'm not the media person, there is better person. But if I want to save money, I'm going over there, then I might not be able to handle extra clients, right?
Yeah.
So I know like it happens like that. But how do you handle like market fluctuations? Because like after the inflation, like in Canada, like
Mm-hmm.
from last year, it's going crazy. The interest rates are changing. Suddenly there is a hike, suddenly there is a low. After the COVID, I feel like the market has been very unstable.
Yeah.
So how do you tackle those things with your clients?
So that's very interesting because every time there's a market event, like take example, this is October 22nd. Sorry, this is November 2nd. Sorry, let's retake that one. Cut that one out.
That's fine.
So let's take example like it's November 22nd today, and yesterday Justin Trudeau came out and said, everybody under making less than $150,000 will get $250 gift, $250 check in
Check.
their bank account. While that is a good news, a lot of people should, get excited about that. It's not good for mortgages because anytime governments are spending money, government spending can really impact mortgage interest rates, especially the fixed ones, because fixed rates can fluctuate on a daily basis. When Donald Trump news came out that he's going to be president, bond yields went up again, and the interest rates on fixed mortgages went up. A lot of people don't know about those things, so it's the expectation on how. Okay, so yesterday we chatted, you gave me this rate, and
Yeah.
now actually I want to buy a house, and your rate is this, and you have to explain to client why. So if you can do a good job on explaining, because finance is very difficult to teach and to learn, because financial literacy, I've been a big advocate about financial literacy from day one. Even when I used to work at a bank, I would go out and do like financial literacy events and stuff. Um, so I'm kind of used to that, how to advise people in like the simpler, the plainer terms. Because if you start using jargon, like banking terminologies and like all the words that we use, like APR, a lot of people don't understand what APR is, right? Annual percentage rate.
And
But if
percent.
I tell them what this includes, they understand that really well.
Yeah.
So knowing that helps me kind of plan on like on the day-to-day fluctuations on the rates. A lot of people don't understand how inflation works, right? But if you explain to them, hey, remember the bread used to cost you this much last year, but now it costs you this much, that is why that is due to inflation. The things are costing you more. And like Bank of Canada has been talking about bringing inflation down. Inflation doesn't just comes down. It's the growth year over year is how inflation is,
It's
measured.
happening.
And if it's not like it's 2%, it's like 6% this year, and next year it's going to be 4%, so it's going to be -2. No, it just grew at a pace of 4%, is what they're saying. So a lot of people, if you could explain things properly in layman terms, I think you will have a better chance of succeeding in the business. Let's say it's marketing, right? And your customers are not interested in finding out about how your microphones work. They don't know what that costs. They don't know how the production works, how the post production handles, like who's doing the camera, what kind of camera are you using. They don't care. They care about how you can make their marketing look better and what they can achieve at the end with the dollars that they're going to earn. Same thing in mortgages. So when you explain to them, this is how the money is going to be saved, how you can do biweekly payment, and you're going to save this much in interest cost over time because you're going to pay more mortgage payments. Um, they understand that, and that's how you manage a business. You just figure out a way to explain things properly, and you will succeed in any business.
I definitely agree with that because yeah, I agree in marketing, like same thing. If I'm sitting with the customer, I can present him with the most 10 beautiful videos for his business
Mm-hmm.
that gets him the most engagement ever. But like after that, the clients, while I'm closing a deal, only ask me question is if we are paying you X. If you are at the end of the month making us X plus Y, then it's a point of having you. Otherwise, like there is no point, right? If we are already doing X, but you are just adding some present some videos, graphics here, like we are business. We only care about if having you helps us make more money in our business. That's what we care about. And that's how everyone runs. And I agree with like business and homes. You can't just plan of buying a home like 6 months from now I want to buy a house, or I have planned to buy a house in a year, right? You have to plan that what is the right time, what is the best mortgage interest rates are going to be, because they fluctuates a lot. I
Mhm.
think it was, I think suddenly they decreased a bit, right?
Yeah.
So three and something did happen, right?
Yeah.
So you, like someone could have bought it like 2 months back. They were like, oh, I could have bought it like 2 months later, and I could
Hmm.
have very less interest rate, and which could have affected me long term. And that's
Yeah.
where you start planning. Like you need to, like it's not that you just gonna go buy a house and you just see the market. You have to see the whole country, how
Hmm.
inflation is going, how immigration can affect things. Like you need to have a lot of factors in mind. And for that, now you can't do the research. That's where you need the expert
Yep.
people to give you the knowledge about, okay, you might looking to buy it on October, but just wait 20 days, you might buy it better interest rate.
I can't tell you how many clients I've actually told to wait 6 more months before we want to break a mortgage to lock into a low rate. Because like, so we have clients that bought houses like, in 2023 and later part of 2022 at a very high interest rate. And they're all calling and saying, hey, now the rates are this low. I heard from so and so. Why don't we break a mortgage and lock into a lower rate? And I'm just saying, like, why don't we wait 6 months? What's the hurry? You were waiting a year and a half to 2 years. Why can't we wait 6 more months? A normal mortgage, if I was just looking to get a sale or just do a mortgage and get my commission check paid, I would say, yeah, let's do it right now. But they're going to pay a penalty. Like you have to explain why you got to wait for 6 months. You can't just say, hey, wait 6 months. Like you're going to give them a rationale on what the theses are behind why you want them to wait. Um, and that's where your knowledge comes in and you say, okay, right now we are still in a declining interest rate environment. We have not, you know, plateaued yet. And maybe there are chances that we might see a little bit more rate fluctuations, and hopefully we can even get a better rate in the next 6 months, because Bank of Canada is not done yet. The news is still out there that the Bank of Canada is going to lower the rates down in the future. So that because of that reason, I think we should wait 6 months. What let's do touch points every second month or every month. If you want to do more than like every week, I'm more than happy to book a recurring call with you and just to give you an update on what's happening in the market. But when you tell people that, they understand, right? And then they go, okay, well, he's not just looking to get a sale or a transaction done. He's actually genuinely worried about us. And there's going to be time in the next 6 months. I'm going to be calling people, hey, perfect timing now. Let's do it.
Makes sense.
So I think that is very important in any business. You got to give them advice on, and you just can't look at a dollar. Like you have to tell
True.
them why it's beneficial for you too.
So, while you're talking about the dollar, I want to know, like, so how does actually like mortgage broker makes money? Like, do you guys charge a commission out of a say like a, or is it a particular broker fees that you charge? How
There's
does
no
that work?
fees for clients to use a mortgage broker actually.
So how do you like make money out of it then?
So because a client comes to us as a mortgage, a client's coming to us and they want to get a mortgage. I have access to multiple banks, right? We work with top five banks as well. A few of the top five banks are on day-to-day basis, and we have access to like over 50 lenders. Now, all those 50 lenders want the business. We're going to go to the bank that has the lowest rate and where the mortgage transaction will work better, right? Because it's lower rate, but also making sure it's a smoother transaction for client as well. So you go to that bank, and that bank is paying you a finder's fee. Sometimes we call it
Ah,
a commission, but it's a finder's fee. And because we brought that client to them, it's like a thank you for them to say, thank you for bringing this client to us. Here's a commission for you. Here's a finder fee for
ah,
you. Now, if that client walked into a bank, they had to pay a salary to the branch person, right? The advisor, whoever's doing it. Um, Most banks know if the client goes to a branch, they're there, they're already there. So they will just buy that. But banks that we work with, they know we have options to send that client to any bank, any lender.
yeah.
So rates are lower. That's why, because it's more competition. And then because of that reason, they are paying us a commission. So there's no fee charged to a client. Now, some brokerages, in the past, this was very common. As the licensing has become more stricter, a lot of people, are finding out that, like there's shouldn't be a fee, right? Uh, Back in the day, people used to charge a fee to do a mortgage transaction. There are certain transactions that are still done and a fee could be applicable. But if you are doing something like, 5% down payment, good credit score, no bankruptcies, nothing, there shouldn't be a fee for you. So if somebody is charging a fee, might as well just, give me a call and I'll figure out what's going on and maybe, help you out there. I actually had a client, it's great that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I had a client who moved from US and it was a company that he worked for, Cognizant, and he moved to Canada. And he was working with a realtor who worked with a different mortgage broker at the time. And the mortgage broker said you have to pay a 1% fee to get a mortgage. And then he was so hesitant, but he worked with a different realtor who worked with me and sent the client to me. And he said, Rahul, what's your fee? I'm like, there's no fee at all for you. He's like, oh, you're lying. I'm like, no, there's no fee because he was on work permit. So he thought that he had to pay a fee to get a mortgage. I'm like, no, there's no fee.
Like,
And when he came to me, when it said no fee, he was like more interested in buying a house. He was more confident. I think he would have still paid 1% if he went to that other guy. He would have paid to get it because he wanted to buy a house, right?
yeah.
He was paying like $3,000 in rent, and now his mortgage cost him $2,200. So, we were really good friends. He might actually watch this, but he told me after closing, he's like, you know what? Like, I'm grateful that I met you, because otherwise I would have paid that guy 1% to get the house.
Like that's what I thought, and most of the people think, because I think realtor charge you some a percentage too, and other people do. And while you're buying a house, that's where you expect people to make money out of commission. And I never knew that bank pays you something instead of a consumer paying you, and that is a very big thing to know about me as well. Like I never knew about it. This is the first time
Yeah.
I'm hearing is there is no charge.
Yeah, and as a on realtor side, as you said, I just want to correct something here.
Yeah.
In Canada, sellers pay realtors their commission, so when they're selling the house, and it's paid on the closing date, not upfront. When you're buying a house using a realtor, there's no fee for
There
you.
is no fee.
Yeah. So the seller paying that commission to the seller's agent, they're splitting that with the buyer's agent. So when you're buying a house, so let's say you decide to buy a house, you're not going to have to pay a commission to the realtor. Now, if you sell that house, it's different.
It's
It's going to
different,
be
yeah.
quite a bit.
But we have a realtor coming up next after this
Love
podcast,
it.
so I'll definitely ask this question
Chat
about
with
him.
him about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but yeah, I think yeah, it's more clear now, because I did heard about something like that seller has to pay for both the realtors. I was not sure that if that 1% got split in both, or is it like they charge double on that. But yeah, that is a good question to
Yeah.
dive further into. But yeah,
Brokers you do not pay any money to use a mortgage broker. I want to make that very clear. If you're using a mortgage broker, you do not have to pay a fee to get a mortgage.
and I think like that makes it so easy for people, because like let's say if I have to pay you couple grands just to consult with you and get a mortgage approved, like I don't want to shop around, because then I'm paying shit of money in just mortgages. But while there is no fee, then if you find that the mortgage person you're with might not be the right fit and does not know the answers, you can shop around, check other people. I feel like that is a very good thing that people might get to know about from here, that there's no fee. Like that is a good.
You do not have to pay a broker a fee to get a mortgage, period.
Perfect. So yeah, so we talked about financial literacy, but what are the three things that you wish every first-time home buyer know before applying for a mortgage?
For anybody who's looking to buy a house, budget should be the first thing that they should know. And we can help out with budgeting and stuff, but that's the one main thing I want everybody to understand. If you're buying a house, you need to figure out what your budget is. That is your income coming in and all the expenses currently going out, including that Disney subscription or Netflix subscription. Put that on the piece of paper. Just figure out how much you get, how much you pay, how much you want to save, and then figure out how much you want to spend on a house.
How much you want to spend on a house? Yeah, I think that is also a thing where people go out in the market, even if their budget is like under 500, like they can get a 500K house, but they're still looking for the houses for 700, 800 in the market, while you should not be like.
Yes. So if I can tell or stress enough about this thing with first time home buyers, if somebody is buying a house, first thing they should do is reach out to a mortgage broker, get a mortgage pre-approval. That will give you an idea on what a mortgage payment will look like, a lot about how mortgages work, and get a picture set in your mind that this is your maximum qualification. So when you go look at a house, you know that you're not going to be disappointed if your budget is 400,000 but you were looking 800,000. Versus like if you don't know what your budget's going to be, what your maximum purchase price is, and you start shopping around, and then you go to a bank and then they say, oh no, you can't get approved for that much. The disappointment is unreal. I've been there myself. Like when I was like, I didn't knew about mortgages. I was like, I want to buy that condo. That's all I thought about. Oh, I want to buy a condo. And I call the bank, and the bank goes, well, you need to be a Canadian permanent resident before you can buy a house. I'm like, oh, I had no idea that I need to
And
do that.
exactly, and there's a come because you're buying a house, you're not just doing a window shopping that I like that house down the street and I want to buy it. Like that's where you research, study, and the best thing if there is no fee, people can talk to different agents, mortgage people, insure, like all the people that they need to buy a house, so they know cost things, that everything figures in their hand.
Yep.
That is like a better picture, because like I also feel if people buy a thing out, they want to buy it, but then they might always like, oh, that's out of my budget, I don't have money to pay in the fees
Yeah.
and other things. And so what would you like accept that, like what would you say to newcomers if they are looking to join mortgage industry, like what advice you want to give to them?
That's a good one. That's a very important one, actually. So, because we've been recruiting a lot of new mortgage brokers, the biggest advice that I give them is you need to have passion for this. You need to be willing to help customer out. Do not think about the dollars that you're going to make. That's the least of your concern. Like you shouldn't be worried about what you want to make or what are you going to make in terms of dollars. You will definitely make more than working at a bank. I can tell you that. But what you want to figure out is, are you passionate about mortgage industry? Are you passionate about helping people? If you're not, if you're like, I don't want to help anybody, then this is not for you. If somebody who's looking to be a mortgage broker should first talk to a mortgage broker like myself, or somebody who has done it for a long time and understand is successful, and figure out, like, is it for them? Shadow a mortgage broker for a day or two. I've sat down with people, a couple of my mortgage brokers, before they jumped into becoming mortgage brokers. They had a good job and they were like, "You don't know if it's for us." And I said, "Come and sit down with me for a couple of days. Maybe on your vacation time when you're gonna not work at your job, come and sit down with me and see how I work. And then if you like it, great. If you don't, then don't join." And they then a month later they're like, "Yeah, we're going into it. Let's do it." Right. The other thing is research and shop around brokerages too. Don't just go talk to one guy and say, and that person says, "Yeah, I'll hire you," and just go there. Every brokerage has a different type of split revenue share system. So, some people, if you're new, they might take a bigger cut from your commission, and vice versa. So figure out what the brokerage is going to provide you in return. Are they going to give you any knowledge? Are they going to give you some, shadow? Are you going to be able to shadow a busy broker? Are they going to get you access to the lenders that you might not get otherwise? Because a lot of banks are very strict on hiring or like onboarding mortgage brokers that are new, right? So are you going to get that access to those banks that you want to use? And first of all, people should reach out to other realtors and figure out what the reputation is of the company that they're going to want to work in, right? A lot of people, they want to work with me is because of my reputation around all the people in the industry. Like the name and the reputation is very important when you work for somebody. As a, if you're going to go work for a mortgage broker, you want to figure out, like, what kind of person are they? Are they going to be helping you? Are they going to, you know wait for the leads to come from you and then just, not help you at all? Those things happen a lot.
So yeah, like I was just saying, like I've seen on social media is like people are like very quick money makers, like they want overnight success. And with mortgage and other things, like these are like industries where you have a lot of knowledge to be prepared before you sell someone, because it's not a product that a person doesn't like, they come and return or exchange. Like they can't do that.
Yeah,
Once it's bought, and then they have to stick with that. And for you it just might be a sale, but for that person they might cost them their whole life. And they basically,
absolutely.
and that's what I'm saying. And with that, I feel like with the newcomers or the university students, like that is a good thing, that if companies allow them just to shadow and see how things are, so that way before, like, you will make money eventually, but just go ahead, learn.
Yeah.
And you might not make good bucks in the start, but are you making good experience, good learning skills, good skill set, knowledge are you getting? If you're getting, just exchange them in return of money later on while you are prepared enough.
Yeah.
So,
My first year of being a full-on mortgage broker, like self-employed, I did not reach out to a single realtor to do. I was like, I was doing my own marketing. I was reaching out to my own circle. I had some leads from my mentors. That helped me, and I was just really focused on learning the process. Really focused on learning the process. Second year comes in, I have the knowledge built up. I'm like, hey, I want to work with you. Hey, realtor, I want to work with you. And because of that, the success came in. But the first year, you just need to know that this is a knowledge based industry. I keep stressing about that is, the knowledge. I probably, if you do the math on the podcast altogether, I probably used the knowledge word 1,000 times today. It's important. You need to be knowledgeable enough. And how do you get the knowledge? Is not by being super busy in your first year. It's by being patient and learning the process, and also understanding how client behavior works. Because at the end of the day, you can be busy and make a lot of mistakes and hurt your reputation in the first year.
true.
Versus if you go slow, but go steady by learning, understanding how it works, learning how people work, you will be successful.
From marketing perspective as well, I feel like digital presence does help you get your name out, make you look like not an individual but a brand.
Mhm.
But except that, the referrals is the biggest business factor, key factor in this industry, because I feel like is most of the people have talked from insurance, real estate, mortgage, or those industries which is like highly commission based, is they work on referrals more than the digital presence. And if you mess up with people without your knowledge, and Halifax is such a small market that everybody know everybody within a year or 2 years time span, like you might have found that person. And like, while the conversations, me being in marketing, like if I sit with a business owner and we talk about marketing a bit, 50% people we find out it's being common, like we knew that person, I know that person, and we find a lot of mutual connections. And if you put like a aggressively without the wrong knowledge selling the wrong product, your name is going to go out so soon that
Mhm.
people don't realize that, oh, it's just a one client. No, it's not one client. You might see that thing for like years in your life. Like I did, like when I was in the event industry, I did one event and I ended up postponing it for some XY reason because of my partner. After a year, I went to a person for sponsorship. The first question he asked me, like, you postponed a event a year back, while I was not even that big of a company, but he still knew about it. I don't know from where, but he was like, then why did you postpone it? That's the first thing they asked me, even being in an event. And while mortgage, like people are spending like most of their life in one decision that you help
Mhm.
them make it. And yeah, if you mess them up, like you might mess up your career. And
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of legalities as well involved in mortgages while you're in, like, giving advice to your clients. So like, you can be a serious trouble if you don't want to do your research properly.
I had a client recently, and this client came from a very good referral partner of mine, and I've done that referral partner's mortgage as well. He was like so cautious about like using a mortgage because he went to a bank and he got declined, and he went to another bank, got declined. So he was like, I don't know if I should even trust a mortgage broker because the bank declined me, and I got the mortgage approved with one of the big five banks actually. And he was kind of skeptical. I was like, well, how did you get approved? Turned out like he just started a new job, and explaining to the underwriter was very important on how this income was going to work, all that stuff. So he was very like, already disappointed, discouraged on, if he's going to even get a house or not. And I got him approved, and he was like, how did you do it? I'm like, this is my art. and and then we closed on the deal, and he's like, even until the day of closing, I was like, what's gonna go south? What's gonna go south? I'm like, nothing. When Rahul's doing your mortgage, he's doing all the due diligence beforehand, so you're not gonna see those last minute hiccups. We had well, turned out like he was getting advice from a bunch of people, and those people were telling him, "Oh, mortgage brokers can decline you at the very last minute." And I'm like, "No, that's not how it works. The good mortgage brokers don't. You
The
know,
one who
if
charge fees fine.
the one who charged a fee and didn't knew what they were doing,
Uh,
maybe they may turn you down. But I find those those mortgage brokers don't stay in the industry for too long because at some point you're gonna realize that maybe I'm not doing. Maybe I need to just slow down, understand how things work properly, and then do it.
yeah.
And that nothing wrong with that too. But in my team, when somebody's issuing a financing letter, I go through that before they tell the realtors to like firm up on the financing, because financing is very important, and we want to make sure everything is done properly before that goes on. Um, Now, banks are human beings; they can make mistakes. So, like when we work with bank, maybe they approve everything and everything's done, and then the file goes through a last minute review or something, and something may come up. But as long as you vet your documents ahead of time before you submitted the application to the bank, uh, you shouldn't be worried about that, right? If your documents are good, if you know your client, like KYC is very important in this industry. Knowing your client is very important, right? Because I think fraud in mortgage industry is very, very high. And if you, as mortgage brokers, we are responsible to prevent people, doing committing those frauds. So when you submit an application to bank, you got to thoroughly vet a client, see what they're doing, see what they're saying to you, and does it match what they're telling you? If they're not, if you are skeptical, don't do the transaction,
True.
right?
Like, yeah, just don't be aggressive buyer because you're buying a home. If
Yeah.
anything you feel like again, if you are there with the person, you don't have to take the decision right away.
Yep.
It's not like a one-time thing that you can just return after 30 days of using or something, right? So you don't have to take a decision right away. If you don't feel something is not right, just don't take it.
Well, I had a client actually a couple of years ago, and they came to me. They already had a mortgage approved with somebody in like Toronto, and they came to me and they're like, "Raul, this person is giving us this rate, but we don't want that. We actually want to go with a fixed rate. We don't want to go with a variable rate." And I said, "Yeah, well, I can get it approved. Well, why don't you just go with the same person?" She's like, "No, they're not offering that to us." I'm like, "Okay." I can do it. I'm like, great. So I went to one of my top five banks because I wanted to go with a variable mortgage that was like, static versus like a non-stat like adjustable mortgage. So it kind of confused. Should we do fixed or should we do variable with the fixed payment? So they wanted to do the fixed payment variable mortgage at the end of the day. And the other option was adjustable. So rates went up, mortgage payments went up. They cried because, you know, they didn't want to take that option. But that mortgage broker had a document signed with the client saying that if you don't take the mortgage from them, you have to pay them a commission. And
Oh,
that's not allowed. Like, you can't just force a client to sign on a document saying you have to get a mortgage from us and you have to do this. So realtors sign a document that says you have to buy a house from us, otherwise you have to terminate the contract. But mortgage brokers don't have that. We don't tell a client, okay, you sign here and you have to get a mortgage from me. You can go anywhere you want. So when they came to me, I did the mortgage, and then they couldn't go with me because they had that document and they were very scared. And a year later, they were like crying because the payments went up so high because the rates were going up at that time. And the realtor that worked with that client at the time never sent those clients to that broker. So the one thing kind of led the broker to lose a lot of business. And I gained the business from him because I'm like, I'm giving the right advice. If you give the right advice, you're going to stay in the industry for a long time. If you're doing wrong or if you're giving wrong advice, your industry experience might be a little bit limited.
yeah.
You may still exist, but you might not do great
Yeah,
business.
same thing like you mentioned with the contract is like I feel like that's where it comes where like people don't shop around, they don't know before signing up the contract that should we go ahead with? And some people just think, oh, this is how the things that should have been done. No, you are signing up a contract. That is a big thing, so you should be prepared. And that's where like
Yeah.
they just got into very big trouble, and now you have to cry for most of your life before your house is paid off and you actually be
Yeah.
comfortable back again. And you never know that how much money you could have saved with the right person. And that's where I feel like doing these talks are important, because you can't have these long conversations with your client, but if people listens to those things, I feel like
Yeah.
that's where they know that what should not do. Because sometimes knowing what to do is before that you should know what not to do, and they need to know what not to do.
Yeah.
Do you like, before we move forward, do you have anything that you want to mention to from a client's perspective, that if they're going to a mortgage broker, first few things they should mention to a mortgage broker, or the first few questions they should be asking?
Yeah, think local, right? So why I would say think local. Broker that you're going to, do they exist in your community? Like a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I have a broker from Toronto." Like, do you even know them? If something goes wrong, can you go to their house? You know, all those things are very important. Not just the rate. Like you could be talking to somebody online and are they even real person? If not, then rate does not matter because they're not giving you advice. So that's really important. The first question they should any client who's going to a mortgage broker, they should ask them, how do you get paid? Because I
How do
think
you get paid?
yeah, how do you get paid?
Okay.
Because like how that's very important because sometimes people think that we charge a fee. So, ask them that question. Do you charge a fee? If they don't, then great. And ask them on what lenders do they work with. If they're using a name that you can't recognize, like you haven't heard of a name of a bank that, they're going with, then chances are, right, so you might not be able to relate with them because a lot of people have built a trust with the names that they see around,
Yeah.
right? I'm talking about local, and if if they know a name and you talk about that name, they're gonna understand, right? If as a broker I say, oh, I'm going to this lender, and they've never heard a name, and I don't tell them why, and I don't bring any of the other names of the people that know that, the trust will be gone. Like my clientele is very focused on brand names. So lender names that they know or their friends have used is very important. So I mostly recommend the brands that are trusted that have been there for a while. Um, and that would be like a second question. And third question, they can ask them, um, what what's special about you that they can't get from another person, right? And that would be a good open-ended question to answer, and it will put a mortgage broker on test, right? Like,
True.
okay, now I got to really prove
Prove
myself,
yourself.
how it work and how it think. And if somebody's getting, saying if they're not giving you the right answer, that you can't build the
And I
trust with them.
think they can also ask a very good question is like, is there any contract?
They should ask that question too.
Like,
Yeah. Do
yeah, I
you?
was like, to these two questions is like, do you charge a fees, and is there any contract, should be the
Yeah.
priority question that they should ask. Because if you mention that these things does not exist, like it should not be happening,
Mhm.
then there is definitely a gray area over there that you should need to be exploring about.
Absolutely. If
Yeah.
somebody's telling you no, if somebody's forcing you to like, hey, stay with me, I'm gonna hold you with the open arms. Yeah, definitely should hold with open arms, but like, don't just keep the client there to suffocate them. If they should have options to go to anybody that they choose to work with.
And if you don't want people to even talk to other people, then definitely there is something sketchy. Because then, like, why are you scared? If you think you're giving the best advice and the best interest rate, then why are you scared of your people talking with other people? Like,
Yeah.
same thing like me in marketing. Like, I can tell people that if you go out, you're not gonna buy in the best pricings that we are giving,
Yeah.
because how we structured our model and how we have made changes is like we have case studies. Like,
Hmm.
the best thing I go to a client is I tell is like, this is a case study of a business that we have. Ask me whatever you feel like, let's dive into it. Like, I don't have any issue with that. And even if they feel like, I don't force them, is like, oh, if you want to go with this, I'll decrease the pricing. I was like, no, just go ahead, shop around. If you feel like find a better match, then our vision might not have aligned. Like, first thing people ask me like is like how you make money. Same thing, like people come to us and ask us like, what's your charges look like. I was like, there is no specific charge, it's marketing, it all depends upon what you want,
Hmm.
what we can provide, and then we can make a package for you. Is like, what we can do for you, right?
It's tailored to everybody's
Yeah.
needs, right?
Yeah, like I don't want to charge you X, and if that does not work for your business, I'm not giving you X amount of deliverables. I'm giving you marketing. Like
Hmm.
I'm not selling you 10 videos. I'm telling you 10 creativity videos and
Yeah,
marketing videos. So depends what you want, right? And
absolutely.
yeah, like contracts and do you charge your fees is what I like people
Huh?
needs to ask. And what's unique about you is also like should be there.
I think that that's a good open-ended question. Like, what's good about your company,
Yeah.
right? Somebody using you as a marketing company,
Yeah.
they should ask you, right? Okay, what do you do different that stands you out from the crowd, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can do a mortgage. In my opinion, you are competing with credit unions, banks, brokers. So, what stands out for you? What do you do special? Is very important. And that could be anything. That could be like, hey, I'm available on at 10 p.m. On a Friday night. Call me. I'm available Saturday, Sunday. That could be standing out. Like that could be a differentiator from you from the other
True.
people, right? Or I work with a bank that most brokers don't have access to, right? A lot of people, Scotiabank, for example, is very unique. I love working with them, and a lot of brokers, you know, don't have access to because their policies are a lot stricter and they won't just onboard anybody, right? So I think those are the things that are very important for clients to ask, and then also ask, hey, I bank with this bank. Do you work with that bank? And can what would be the difference between me going to you versus going to my regular bank, right?
True.
Because you're competing with people. There's competition. So how do you convince the person who's getting the product from you, in your case, marketing, or in my case, mortgages, what is the differentiating factor? Why they should go with you,
True. I
right?
agree.
And then local is very important. I
Local
think
is
local part, like there are marketing agencies in Toronto marketing on to people in Halifax saying, "Hey, come to us, we'll do your marketing." But like, what if you give them your retainer and then you don't get the product? You can't
exact.
fly to Toronto and get that money back from them.
Most of the people are actually doing thing is like most of the people they are working with are from Toronto's because they don't find locals. But when you have local, is like you can call them anytime, you can meet them anytime.
Mhm.
You don't have to book a flight or a virtual meeting because I feel like even if you are in a digital era, while you're talking about a business, instead of virtual, in person changes a lot. It builds better trust, better explanations, and better things. But again, it depends from person to person. But yeah, what we talked about, what's unique, like I also want people to call him and ask this guy what's unique about his company. I'm not gonna ask him today, but you ask him, make him the first call and ask is like, hey Rahul, what's unique about you and your company? Or just ask him in the comments about this basically. So yeah, well, let's do our quick fire round. I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions, whatever comes in your mind, just go ahead and say it. But the first one is, it's not a fun one, but the best book or resource for you to learning about mortgages, if you have
About
to tell.
mortgages?
I know it's a weird question, but if I know there's a lot of university students and stuff that who
Yeah,
do BComs up here is like in Halifax
yeah,
because it's a student city.
yeah.
So if you have to tell them is like best resource to learn about the mortgage or
About
explore about this
mortgages?
industry.
I think YouTube. I don't think there's a book for YouTube has a lot of good content, man. Like even when I was at St. Mary's University, I had a project that I did it off of YouTube completely. So I think YouTube probably
YouTube.
is best to
But
learn about mortgages. And then also like, but for books, there are some really good mortgage brokers that have written books out there. So like I think be a better broker is one of the books that I've read. Dustin Woodhouse from Vancouver, BC somewhere. He writes it and he actually does a newsletter every week. He's a good guy, great books. So I've read his books that could help people getting into mortgages faster.
what's your any fun hobby that you have picked outside of your work?
I love golf. I
Golf?
golf a lot. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. What's the most rewarding part of your job? For you?
When you see clients giving you that 5-star review, that actually shows that you did a good job for them. They genuinely, and then they bring you to their housewarming parties. That's like, the thing to die for. Like, I love that when people say, hey, thank you so much for helping us with the house. We loved it. And then, also about getting referrals from clients. that really validates that you've done a good job when they refer you their friends and family.
True, yeah. Like if someone is calling, oh, I got to know about you from that person, and you feel so happy that okay, that person was actually happy about my work that
Yeah.
he's referring me friends. But yeah, um, one thing people often misunderstood about the mortgage industry.
I guess the mortgage brokers charge a fee. there's
Yeah,
there's
I s-
no fee, period.
yeah, I still can't accept that. It's like there is no fee that you just go over there and
You
it's
don't have to pay a mortgage broker to get a mortgage.
perfect. Yeah,
Mm.
and we have talked about that. But what's your dream vacation destination if you think of anything?
Dream vacation destination. I don't know. Yeah, I think uh, Bali would be one. I've been wanting to go there for a long time, so I think I'll go to Bali. I go to Dubai every year, and I just love that place.
Dubai is amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been there, and every year you go, there is something new. Like they are just doing something new every year.
it's an interesting place, man.
Yeah.
I go there for 5 days, and I'm like this city. You can only do like what you can do in 30 days in Halifax. You can, like, sorry, 30 days there. You can't even compare to what you can do in the rest of the world
Oh,
for
you
travel.
can do like 30 days over there and everything new. Like there is everything new. Okay. Another thing is what you would have been doing if you were not in the mortgage industry.
I would have been entrepreneur. I would have been self-employed doing something. I had a lot of ideas, and I still have a lot of ideas that I want to, pursue at some point later in the life. But I probably think that I would be running a mobile car repair tech startup, uh, like Wrench.io in US. I started that, and it was COVID time, cold season, and then I, had a business partner that didn't go well with that. But I would be doing that if I didn't do the
So you
mortgages.
were like already planned that you want to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, entrepreneurship in blood. My dad was real estate agent. My dad, he doesn't do real estate anymore, but he has a cable business now, and never worked a day in his life. Like, when you're self-employed, you work every day, but you don't work, at the same time.
But at least that you are working every day, but you're working for yourself. You're working to
Exactly.
build a legacy, and
Yeah.
that's what is about self-employment.
Self-employment. It's a great journey being an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, I'm already loving it. It's stressful. It's you have to be active like 24/7 while you are at the initial stage of it,
Yeah.
but then you know that you're building a dream life or you're building something for yourself, and whatever you work is for yourself, not for building up someone else's business. And I think that's the best feeling you can have.
Yeah.
So my last question would be from you is like mortgage company. If you have to start that, do you think you need a lot of liquid funds? If someone has to start, what would you say?
Like mortgage lending company, like
No, not
actually
lending,
lending.
like how you start your brokerage
Mortgage
firm and
brokerage.
stuff.
Yeah,
So like if someone is planning to go with that, like that you are inspired that you should start your own, there might be a lot of people that who wants to do it as well. Do you feel like that they need a lot of liquid funds or stuff like that to start it?
like I will tell you my story.
Yeah.
When I started, when I was gonna go become self-employed mortgage broker, I basically put aside. I was lucky enough to save enough to have my. You need to know what your monthly expenses are, because if you don't know that, then I think there's a serious budgeting problem. If you have budget, your budgeting figured out. Let's say I need $3,000 or $2,000 per month to pay for my bills and not stress about it, and then you just work at that and save enough for 6 months. You should have 6 months of your, savings for, emergency expenses. But I set aside 1 year's worth of savings, and I just jumped at it. I was like, I have enough money. I do not want to think about a dollar any day. I have money that will pay my bills. I just want to be focused on learning, getting the knowledge built up, and then relationships that I would need in the future to help me be successful. And I worked on that. It's funny, I didn't use that money at all because it took me 3 months to get paid for my first deal, which was like $1,100. It was not a huge amount, but I was very happy when I got my first paycheck. And after that, you slowly build up, and then when you become self-employed, you realize, how to save money too.
True.
You're not that crazy, irresponsible human being spending money on things like going to Costco and buying things that you don't need.
Because I think at that time you knew that you have in mind is that there is no paycheck is coming in 2 weeks. Like there is nothing coming. You have to be hustling. And another, I want to emphasize on a point that where you said that it took you 3 months to get your first paycheck of $1,100, which like that's what people don't realize is that if you're in the industry, you're not just gonna start making it right away. It took you 3 months to make first initially $1,100, so you had to have the savings. Because I feel like most of the businesses also fails on a factor where they start the money, like buy equipments, everything, but they don't have any liquid funds
Hmm.
to run for those time where you actually don't make anything, and that's where I feel like people struggles the most and might end up quitting
Well,
or
with
something.
mortgage industry, it's good because you all you need is a good laptop, a good phone, and good communication skills.
Communication skills, yeah.
And it doesn't require a lot of capital to put in, but it depends on different kind of business. Let's say your marketing business, you may need to spend a lot more on your equipment
Equipments.
and good quality sound music systems and all that stuff to make it really good. But mortgage industry, you're basically knowledge is your biggest asset,
Yeah.
and then your computer would be the second.
Yeah, that is true, but then I still feel like that if you don't keep liquid money, like it's all about commission based industry, that if you have not that much of client for a certain month or something, or if your
Yeah.
payments are getting delayed, like you can end up stuck at a position where if you spend up all your liquid assets, you might not have anything, right?
Yeah.
Because there can be time where you might not find, like, inflation is going on, like you're saying is like the only reason that you can tell your clients to wait 6 months because you plan your year length savings accordingly. Because if you would have been just going out and just trying to close clients, because if you don't have money, then you also have to push yourself to close clients early instead of giving them the best advice that they should wait. So
Exactly.
I think that also helps in your mindset of that you don't want to aggressively close clients, but you want to close healthy clients to build up the legacy.
It's like work on building the business. Don't even worry about the paycheck. Money will come itself.
True.
Do right things.
So yeah, so after that, like for the closings, I would just like to ask is like what your plans for the like future plans with the active mortgage, your company, and are there any exciting projects or goals that you're working on you just like to share with the people?
We are, proactively working on uh, expanding the team, helping brokers who are struggling in their current careers, or somebody who's looking to make an impact using it via mortgage industry or the knowledge. We're growing. That the biggest focus right now is growing our team and making that a great team, right? And then the second focus right now is to expand our geographic area as well. We're helping a lot of clients in New Brunswick, and I think New Brunswick will be a great spot for people to also be exploring. Anybody listening to this podcast for business, Halifax and Moncton are going to be the next two, hubs where people will do a lot of business. So, like for marketing as well, like I would think, lots of momentum going. So that's our two focus right now: helping growing the team, helping the brokers, and expanding the geographic area.
No, amazing. Yeah, no, it was fun learning from you. Do you like to close with any particular statement that you wanna close with?
Um, I would say if somebody is, it's all about entrepreneurship. So if
Yeah.
somebody is looking to jump into becoming an entrepreneur, if they have a great idea, um, definitely pursue that idea as soon as possible. Because if you wait for the right moment, that might not come. And by the time that will come, you might not have the energy and desire to do it. So the minute that it's like a burning desire in your mind, do it. You will not regret.
That's solid statement to close, and I personally agree on that very much because yeah, like if you feel like you have an idea, just execute it. The best you can have is you fail, and then you learn the best from there. And if you do something on your own, because people think that if I'm doing that thing, like I have to do it for the rest of my life. No, like most of the entrepreneurs where I have found out that they have done like 10 businesses before they actually find the one that they want to do. So just, but they learned 10 different things from the 10 different businesses that they did. So there is, I feel like there is never failing while you're doing a business. You always end up learning something, either in a factor of money or skills.
Yeah, I did
So,
four. I should have done six more, but yeah, I did four. And, it's not failure, it's you learn
yeah.
and you get a better person. Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, it was nice chatting with you, and thank you so much for coming for the
You're welcome.
podcast. And so I'll do mention his IDs about the companies and details in the description down below. So just do check it out, reach it out, and ask him what's unique about your company. And if there is anything else, just do reach out to you. And I do also want to emphasize that make sure to see your mortgage brokers are not doing any contracts with you and there is no fees, and try go with the locals. And yeah, if you feel that we got amazing insights from our podcast, do keep listening to us. We have more podcasts coming up, and also do check out his page on Instagram. Do you want to tell about the
It is
page?
Rahul Does Mortgages.
Perfect. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
It was nice talking
Cheers.
with you, and
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
information.